我觉得最难面对的是真的像电视剧演的一样，医生说家属留下来，他就请这个我爸爸先出去，然后我在现场听他讲说肝脏的肿瘤已经转移成这个样子的话，就是剩3到6个月。3到6个月很短没有办法接受这个是一个事实。大家好，我是叶阳。这一集我们聊到我爸爸的事情，也聊聊家里你最在乎的那个人，他的老后，他走向终点的这段路。曾经我感觉到的就是纯粹的恐惧，但也因为走完这段路，我有一些新的想法。陪伴临终的这段人生，是我们生命里面很重要的一刻。邀请大家来听听照顾者付出的人生是生命的学习思考，这些都是我们未来可以参考的路。先来一杯，我们再聊。
Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome back to Sip&Talk.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sip&Talk. I'm Sunny. Joe, I ran into something hilarious when I was ordering coffee this morning. I told the barista, "Boss, I want an Americano. Please optimize the ice. No ice, thanks." The barista froze for 2 seconds and gave me a very subtle look. Then I suddenly realized, oh no, am I about to get canceled by the anti-Silicon Valley police?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know you're joking, but honestly, that is too funny, and it perfectly captures this bizarre tension happening right now.
Yay!
Like, it is wild to think that the geographic origin of a single vocabulary word is somehow generating more anxiety than the actual geographic origin of the coffee beans in your cup.
Exactly. It's like people are on high alert for words.
They really are. And actually, that sets up this incredible story we saw from one of our Sip&Talkers over on Threads.
Oh yeah, the linguistic counterattack story? I love this one.
It's so good. So this listener posted a relatively harmless comment online, and almost immediately they were just swarmed by these highly aggressive internet users, like a full-on linguistic purity test.
Yeah, complete pile-on.
Right, and the mob was basically yelling at them like, "Don't speak Chinese if you aren't Chinese."
Which is an intense thing to just throw at a stranger online, but instead of getting angry or starting a flame war, the listener was just, super calm. They replied with one single sentence. "I am speaking the Han language."
Yes, and the result was glorious.
It really was. The attackers completely froze. Like, they were absolutely speechless. It was like their internal programming just crashed.
A total system failure.
Yeah.
Because by elevating the conversation to the Han language, which, is this broader historical academic definition that covers multiple regions and dialects, the listener basically bypassed the political censorship code entirely.
Exactly. It completely exposed this massive logical flaw because the internet mob was trying to enforce this very rigid modern political boundary on what is actually a fluid ancient communication system.
Which brings us right into what we are unpacking on today's Sip&Talk. We're going to look objectively at a stack of historical linguistic data, plus some serious geopolitical analyses, to really understand this language police phenomenon.
Especially how it's playing out in Taiwan right now, yeah.
Exactly. We're exploring the deep political anxieties driving it, and we'll look at frameworks for how a free society can, protect its democratic systems without accidentally becoming the very censors they're trying to fight.
That's the real challenge. And just a quick note to all our Sip&Talkers out there, our mission is always to lay out the facts and encourage independent thinking.
Always.
We are not here to criticize any specific group or take political sides. We just want to figure out the underlying mechanics of what is actually going on here.
So true. So let's start with the language police themselves. We are seeing internet users literally creating these incredibly strict vocabulary charts, like to hunt down and cancel people online.
They're acting like digital border guards. If someone uses a term that originated from mainland China, saying optimize or video, or even something as mundane as security guard, they get flagged immediately.
Wait, security guard?
Yeah, even that. The language police treat that vocabulary as this undeniable proof that the user's mind has been infiltrated by a hostile political ideology.
Which completely ignores how organic language actually is in the real world. Like, take simplified characters, for example.
All right.
The language police often point to the use of simplified characters as an immediate sign of political compromise. Like, oh, you're using simplified characters, you must be infiltrated. But looking at the international data, that totally ignores the reality of millions of people in Southeast Asia.
It really does. I mean, let's look at Malaysia. Simplified characters have been the official educational standard in Malaysian schools since 1981.
1981. That's over 40 years ago.
Exactly. That is a result of their own domestic educational policy from way back then, driven by a desire to standardize literacy. It is completely disconnected from modern internet platforms or current geopolitical tensions.
And then you have Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew launched the famous Speak Mandarin campaign way back in 1979. And the goal there wasn't to import a foreign political ideology at all.
No, not at all.
The objective was to unify a highly diverse population that was just fractured across dozens of different dialects like Hokkien, Cantonese, Teochew. And out of that incredibly diverse history comes one of the most fascinating linguistic concepts out there, which is the Rojak language.
Oh, Rojak is a perfect illustration of organic linguistic evolution. So for those outside the region, Rojak is a term used heavily by Singaporean and Malaysian Chinese communities.
Yeah, it's named after a dish, right?
Yeah. Literally, it translates to a type of traditional mixed fruit and dough salad. It's this chaotic mix of ingredients that, on paper, shouldn't work together, but it totally does. So linguistically, it describes their beautifully mixed salad way of speaking.
It's amazing. It's this seamless mid-sentence blend of Mandarin, English, Malay, and Hokkien. Someone might start a sentence in Mandarin, drop it in English verb, use a Malay slang word, and then finish with a Hokkien particle.
And to them, that mix is just daily life. It's how they order food. It's how they talk to their families, run their businesses.
But to an internet language police officer who is constantly hunting for ideological purity, that beautiful mixed salad looks like a coordinated infiltration.
It really highlights a profound misunderstanding of cultural confidence, because trying to micromanage vocabulary is historically a sign of deep insecurity.
Yeah, let's look at that from a historical perspective, actually. Think about the American Revolutionary War.
Okay, sure.
So the ink is drying on the Treaty of Paris. The newly formed United States had just fought this brutal, bloody conflict to reject the British king and secure their sovereign independence, right?
Right.
But Americans didn't sit down and invent a brand new language just to prove a point. They didn't start policing each other for using British vocabulary.
They just kept speaking English.
Exactly. They kept it, but they made it their own. They infused it with their own slang, incorporating words from Native American languages like squash and skunk. They owned it.
That's a great point.
Because true cultural confidence isn't about acting like a hall monitor, grading a spelling test to make sure everyone's vocabulary is pure.
Yeah.
It's about making your own culture so vibrant and attractive that people naturally want to participate in it.
That historical parallel is great, and it brings us to a crucial pivot in today's discussion. Because if policing language is logically flawed, historically inaccurate, and alienates international allies,
Which it does.
then why are so many people in Taiwan reacting with such visceral hostility? I mean, nobody wakes up and decides to be a vocabulary inspector just for fun.
Right. So what are they seeing that the rest of the world is missing?
Well, according to the geopolitical analysts, we have to view this through the lens of survival. What we're seeing is a societal, almost PTSD-style defense mechanism against a regime that has explicitly stated its goal is to eliminate the Republic of China, which is Taiwan.
And that intent is literally written into their laws.
It is. And the National Security Bureau data backs up exactly why that anxiety is so high. Let's look at the hard numbers from their early 2026 report.
Okay, let's hear them.
In the year 2025 alone, intelligence teams intercepted over 45,000 foreign abnormal accounts operating in the digital space.
Wow, 45,000.
Yeah. And they tracked an astonishing 2.31 million controversial messages designed to manipulate public sentiment.
Over 2 million. That's industrial scale.
It is an industrial scale of cognitive warfare. During the April 2025 military drills, analysts tracked foreign cyber armies actively hijacking local trusted platform accounts. They took over accounts on PTT, which is a massive, highly trusted bulletin board system in Taiwan, to deliberately spread panic and military misinformation.
That's terrifying.
So when citizens see vocabulary shifting, they aren't just seeing new slang. They're seeing the tip of a state-sponsored spear aimed directly at their democratic system.
Wait, I need to push back on this a little bit. I mean, I totally understand how a hijacked forum account spreading fake military panic is cognitive warfare. But earlier, the reports mentioned lifestyle videos. Are we really saying a beautifully shot vlog about night market snacks or like a video of a cute pet is a geopolitical weapon?
北凤姐， 我留你足久啊。
追我的人很多，没人去给掉，因为我拢啉正港的优蛋白，补体素优蛋白 EX222，增肌关键，磨弱血层，促进新陈代谢，看笑脸爱保养哦。
来，继续补体素优蛋白 EX， 强化配方，增肌 Yes。
马上点击资讯栏连结，跟美凤姐一起喝补体素优蛋白 EX。Geopolitical
weapon, isn't that crossing the line into pure paranoia?
It absolutely sounds like paranoia until we break down the psychological mechanics of what intelligence reports call the three-step strategy of cognitive warfare.
Okay, 3 steps. What's step 1?
The first step is lifestyle infiltration, and it relies entirely on human psychology and dopamine.
Walk us through how that actually works in the brain.
Think about the algorithms on short video platforms. They feed you highly engaging, beautifully produced videos about fashion, street food, pop culture. When you watch a video of delicious street food, your brain releases dopamine. You experience a positive emotional response.
Because food is great.
Exactly. And the content is entirely non-political, which means your cognitive defenses drop completely. You begin to associate that warm, familiar feeling with the platform and the broader culture it represents.
So you watch it and think, oh, their night markets look just like ours. We eat the exact same snacks.
Yeah.
So the algorithm is essentially building a bridge of comfort.
Precisely. And once that psychological bridge is built and your guard is down, the strategy moves to step 2. Blurring boundaries.
And how do they do that?
The algorithms and influencers start subtly pushing a specific narrative within those same algorithmic echo chambers. They drop phrases like, we share the same food, we use the same slang, we are basically all one family.
Which on the surface sounds incredibly warm and inclusive.
It does. But analysts point out it is a highly calculated move to blur the distinct political and cultural boundaries that separate a free democracy from an authoritarian regime, which sets up the Trojan horse for step 3.
Which is?
Political elimination.
Whoa. How does the jump happen from we like the same food to political elimination? That's a huge leap.
They take that manufactured sense of cultural connection and use it to justify political annexation. The logical fallacy shifts from we share the same culture to because we share the same culture, your independent political system is illegitimate and you belong to us.
That is a terrifying psychological leap. It's like the ultimate bad date scenario.
How do you mean?
Like if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I like your style, I like the same music you do, let's grab a coffee, that is normal cultural exchange. But if that exact same person says, I like your style and because we like the same music, I am now moving all my furniture into your house whether you like it or not, that is a threat.
That is a perfect way to describe it. I actually often use a neighbor analogy to explain this geopolitical anxiety to people outside the region.
Let's hear it.
It is wonderful if a neighbor borrows some soy sauce, recommends a great new TV show, or shares family recipes. That enriches both your lives. But if that exact same neighbor suddenly knocks on your door and says, since you've been using my soy sauce and since you watched that show I recommended, we are basically one family now. Therefore, I legally own your living room.
Right.
That is a hostile takeover disguised as neighborly affection.
And that perfectly explains the trigger response of the language police. They see the vocabulary being shared, the digital soy sauce being borrowed, and their defense mechanism just activates because they know the demand for the living room is coming next.
Exactly. But this brings us to the tragic irony highlighted in all the geopolitical data. By engaging in extreme ideological purity tests over everyday vocabulary, Taiwanese netizens risk causing severe internal friction within the broader democratic world.
Yeah, because by policing words like optimize or video, they aren't just pushing back against an authoritarian regime. They're actively alienating millions of overseas Chinese in places like Malaysia and Singapore.
Who are essentially their allies.
Right. These are people who operate in that Rojak linguistic reality, who use simplified characters natively, but who actually share a love for freedom and democratic values.
And security analysts view this as a massive strategic error. In the attempt to build a firewall against cognitive warfare, the language police are inadvertently throwing stones at their own potential allies.
Wow.
They are essentially doing the authoritarian regime's job for them by dividing the democratic-leaning Chinese-speaking world.
Okay, so if the data shows the cognitive threat is incredibly real, 2.3 million manipulated messages proves that, but policing vocabulary just isolates a free society from its international allies, what is the strategic alternative? How do you defend against this without destroying your own open culture?
Well, defense analysts suggest the alternative is building a cognitive firewall based on a strategic mental framework. It actually reminds me of that classic logic puzzle, the one with the two doors.
Oh, right. Where you face two doors, heaven and hell, and there are two guards.
Exactly. One guard always lies, and one guard always tells the truth. And you only get to ask one question to figure out the right path.
I remember this. So the solution is you point to one path and ask, if I ask the other guard which way is heaven, what would they say?
Right, because both the liar and the truth teller will end up pointing to the wrong path to hell. So you just take the opposite path of whatever they point to.
It's so clever, but how does that connect to, internet vocabulary?
Because the lesson of that puzzle isn't about figuring out who the liar is. It's about designing a decision-making framework where the lies automatically neutralize themselves.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. So relating this back to the internet, stop wasting energy trying to act as a linguistic purity inspector. Hunting down every single lie or infiltrated word is exhausting. Instead, focus on the core objective, protecting your freedom and democratic systems.
So you establish a clear mental framework.
Exactly. You maintain a crystal clear red line. You can enjoy the cultural exchange, the pop culture memes, the new slang words, the street food vlogs, but you fundamentally compartmentalize and reject the political narrative attached to them.
So you appreciate the soy sauce, but you slam the door the second they ask for the living room.
Boom. Exactly. When you have that internal framework locked in, you don't need to panic over a simplified character. You don't need to cancel someone over a vocabulary word. Your cultural resilience comes from an unshakable commitment to your democratic values, not from building an artificial linguistic wall.
That is so empowering. True cultural resilience is about promoting your own culture, maintaining independent critical thought, and clearly separating cultural influence from sovereign independence. You don't have to be afraid of the world if you know exactly who you are and what you stand for.
That is the ultimate defense. It allows a free society to remain completely open and inclusive without conceding an inch of its political sovereignty.
I love that. Well, before we wrap up today's Sip and Talk, I want to leave everyone with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. We've spent this time exploring the friction of trying to build boundaries around language. But the reality is, the Chinese language is currently evolving simultaneously across multiple massive global centers.
Oh, for sure. It is being shaped every single day by communities in Taipei, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Toronto, Sydney, and beyond. It is a truly globalized language, constantly branching out.
Right. And as this language continues to mix globally, as it becomes a worldwide rojack of different cultures and influences, will the very concept of a localized language boundary eventually become completely obsolete?
That's a huge question.
Are we heading toward a future where we are forced to redefine our national identities far beyond the words we happen to speak? Something to really chew on.
It is a fascinating question, and one that proves exactly why we have to elevate our critical thinking beyond simple vocabulary tests.
Absolutely. As a reminder, the goal of Sip and Talk is always to objectively provide the facts, dig into the data, and encourage independent thinking. We are never here to attack any group or take political sides. We just want to give you the analytical tools to navigate this wild world.
Yep.
So Sip and Talkers, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced this kind of vocabulary judgment, online or in person? How do you personally balance protecting your own culture with remaining inclusive to others? Let us know in the comments.
We always love reading your insights, and if you found today's discussion valuable, please make sure to subscribe to Sip and Talk so you never miss our analysis.
Hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, we have to give a huge, enthusiastic shout out to our old friend Mickey. Make sure you head over to YouTube and check out Mickey's channel, Mickey to Life. They just dropped their newest travel vlog, and it is absolutely fantastic. You do not want to miss it.
Highly recommended. Go check it out.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Stay curious, stay independent, and we will see you next time.